What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Uberkooledgarage. On this week's episode, we're going to continue on the Bugs front suspension. Try and knock out as much of that as possible. There's a couple parts where I explain what I'm doing. I haven't really had too much time to film. This has kind of been bits and pieces here and there. I've been super busy at work, but definitely try and jam through, get as much done as I possibly can. These next 3 weeks before Bugorama are going to be a real hustle. I am not going to drive the car there. I don't think it's feasible at this point, but I am going to tow it and I will show it there. So if you guys are in Sacramento area, come out to Bugorama and check out the car in person, which will probably be really cool. I have been working on quite a bit of things. If you guys are interested in a Patreon, so if I get a Patreon, comment below and let me know what you think, if that would be something you would be interested in. I'll probably do live videos probably once or twice a month, question and answer, stuff like that. And then we'll work on the project together with a live feed, which would be really cool, I think. Also, if I do it and you guys sign up, I will send you some stickers. And you'll probably get, I'm going to start working on shirts and stuff like that. You guys will get first dibs on shirts. So comment below and let me know what you think, if it'd be something you guys would be interested in. So let's go ahead and hop into this episode. Hope you guys enjoy. As I stated in the last video, the steering on the Bug is way off. So I'm going to go ahead and hop into this, change a couple things. That's basically one of the reasons why I have stuff just tacked in at the moment. I haven't finished welding anything. I want to get all of this correct before I finalize anything. That way I can just cut the tabs and move stuff around when I need to. Kind of like the coilovers, I have to lower the top of the coilover mount to raise the actual ride height of the car because it is too low at the moment. I really love the look of it, but it's a little too low for how much power this car has. I would rather not hit a bump and bottom out on something and destroy the underside of the car, or worse. So let's go ahead and start hopping into some of the steering components of the car and what I'm going to change. So the steering axis, you can see where the top ball joint is and where the bottom ball joint is. If you draw a line through here, it barely hits the outside edge of the tire. The closer that you get it to the center of your tread patch, the better. There's different ways of doing it, but with this being so not as aggressive, it's making it very difficult to turn the car. It's actually trying to lift the entire car as I turn. So there's one thing that I am going to address. I do have the stock Volkswagen toe plate on top, so I'm going to adjust that around to push that front ball joint further out, and then I will adjust the lowers out as well to get the camber correct. Another thing is the steering acronym. So where the ball joint lands for the steering rod is actually further in than the top ball joint. So that's giving the angle out this way, which turns the tires at different angles. So I need to try and move this. That's why I have this plate on here to kick it this way. I'm going to try and kick it out further to match to see how well that does. If it works out, I'm probably going to either drill a hole back here and run the joint back here, or cut this off completely and re-weld this section further back. Hopefully that'll work. And then after I get all this stuff situated, I'll make actual tabs and stuff for the upper A-arms. If I have to, I will probably end up cutting the top ball joint mount off and raising it on the actual spindle and kicking it back further to get all of the alignments correct. But I'm going to see what I can do with what I got right here and see how well all of that works out and just go from there. So I will probably time lapse this piece, and then I'll let you know what the whole plan is. Well, you saw me adjust the driver's side. Off camera, I went ahead and adjusted the passenger side. So they are exactly the same. And it helped a lot. So it is way easier to turn. You can see that the tires turn a lot better than they did before. The angle's still not completely right, but it is very close to what it needed to be. So I can still adjust out the steering rods. So if I adjust those out further, it'll fix that alignment, so this one will actually kick in more, and that one will stay roughly the same. So the way that it's turning now is both wheels turn the same amount in both directions, which is awesome. So, and it makes, before I couldn't even push the car by hand without the tires fighting each other and pushing against the rest of the car. The front tires would almost slide across the ground rather than roll across the ground. So with this being the way that it is, I can push the car with one hand. Definitely still needs a little bit of tweaking, but it is way better than it was. So now I can kind of start finalizing some of this and getting all of this stuff welded up, as well as get the top shock tower brackets made and get the strut bar that I'm going to make on there. Get all that stuff situated, and then finish off. I had to order heim joints for the rear suspension. So those are on order. As soon as I get those, then I can build the rear toe link bar for that. And then I'm going to probably weld up a little bit more of the cage. That way nothing moves. And finish up the brakes. And then we'll take this thing for a little drive down the street. might be wondering what's going on with this. I have made a jig for the steering knuckle. I decided to cut and weld it. And another thing that I did was I took the actual ball joint end and flipped it upside down. So the ball joint now comes from the bottom. These ones here are international tie rods. I'm probably going to switch back to Volkswagen ones, or they make a Heim joint end that goes in here, and then they make a rod that comes out of this that holds a Heim joint. So I'll probably end up doing that a little bit later, but for now I'll just use Volkswagen ball joints. So this jig holds the steering knuckle exactly where it needs to be. It also brought the steering knuckle closer in, so it should give a little bit more angle on steering, which is way nice. So what I have done is I cut and shortened it, and I have taken a wedge out of this. So with this wedge, you guys might have seen this before. I'm going to heat all of this up with a torch, and then I'm going to weld in here down at the seam, and then weld a thicker weld, and then do 2 more welds on top of that until it's flush, and then I'll grind it down and smooth it out. And then once I'm done with the top, I will lightly etch this way on this bottom section and do another pass weld through there. The casting on these wasn't super great, so I'll go through and clean up all the casting as well. So you can see how much of a difference it was. So there's the new one, and then I'll walk over here, and there's the old one. So you can see how much of a difference it is to the upper ball joint. It's quite a bit further out, so now it's way back here. It'll definitely, just doing this little bit here helped so much with steering. So I actually went back a little bit further than this, tiny bit further than this, so it'll have a direct steering angle, which will be very, very nice. I'm gonna go ahead and weld that up, and then we'll go ahead and take the jig off, put it on this one, cut this one up, we'll weld it up and do the same thing. I have suspension parts on order, so I have a longer rod here that'll actually put it back here. It'll get a better angle. These I'll end up pushing forward just a hair, since that's not going to contact there anymore. So I'll push these ones back just a hair. And I also got misalignment spacers for both of these, so I'll be able to put the Heim joints in like this rather than like this. So that'll give me more angle on those as well, and then I'll have a ton of adjustability on all of those settings and stuff. So once I get those misalignment spacers, then we'll start setting up all of the upper A-arms. The lower A-arms are done. I'm just going to add in a tab top and bottom to reinforce all of this up here and underneath as well. So we'll get those welded in permanently, get those tabs welded in, and then we'll finish off welding the shock mounts on both of them. And then I can paint basically all of the suspension. I have seriously one more tiny thing. I know I keep telling you guys one more thing in the back to do. Make sure that all of the suspension and stuff is good back here. So as you can see right now, I just have a ratchet strap holding the toe. So those parts are on order as well. I got 2 more Heim joints, a left and a right. for the rears. And then after I get the tow rod in there, then we should be ready to go. I'm gonna definitely try and work on brakes probably later this weekend. So we'll start finishing off suspensions, and then we can possibly drive this thing. And as you can see, I got quite a bit of the cage primered. So I've just been welding stuff up and then sanding down and primering it, just because some of the cage stuff is starting to rust over a little bit, and I would rather not try and sand down the entire chassis with rust all over it. So we're gonna start getting all this stuff set up. The front bar here, you guys may notice that there's a gap in the tube there. I am going to take that tube out, completely modify it to accept the fan and stuff like that, and then we'll weld in weld in that piece in the correct location. But I got these bars here. I didn't film any of that just because that one single bar took like 2 hours to do. So it was just a cut, check, and cut and check kind of thing. Wanted to get it perfect, but really like the way that it turned out. I got plenty of room in between the radiator for the shield. So all of this stuff is really starting to come together. We'll get front suspension dialed, and then we'll hop into the rear once the parts get here. I got my extended arms here in the mail today. So as you can see, these ones are quite a bit longer. So those will put the heim joint over on this side, which is kind of nice. I also got my safety washers in. So safety washers, so those will go on the other side, on each side of the actual arms. Give it quite a bit more room, flexible wise. That way I can get all of the front suspension to move quite a bit more than I could without them. So I can basically finish front suspension now. So I'll go through, cut these tabs off. I'll put new ones over here. I am probably going to make this side adjustable. And then this side, this one back here is probably going to be fixed. and that will allow this to adjust and everything. So we'll go ahead and get that stuff swapped over, make new mounts, and then I can fully weld in the lowers and put the gusset in there. The steering rod stuff worked out really good. I am going to have to shave the knuckle down just a little bit. It barely contacts at full lock. And then the actual steering shaft stuff is pretty good. I have to extend the steering rack just a little bit to give it a little bit more room to push it out. This setup here was built for stock with Volkswagen front end. So with my track width being 2 inches wider than a standard bug, it's going to, I need more adjustability there. So I'll extend those out, get all the front suspension set up. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you this week. Next week's video, we will be hopping on Ryan's car. Also, this weekend I didn't have a whole lot of time. I went and picked up a new car for my youngest brother. So it is a Volkswagen. So you guys will probably see that in a future episode. We're probably going to do a build series on that, and should be pretty interesting. I think you guys might like it. The bug stuff, as you can see, got a lot of the cage painted, in primer. So I'm going to try and knock out as much as I can on both of these cars in the next 3 weeks. I'm going to try and get the bug body back on the chassis, try and finish up a lot of the bug body. The chassis is actually very close to being ready. So I'm just going to finish off suspension stuff, work on some brake stuff, and probably focus on getting the body presentable for everybody to come out and see it. So until the next episode, see you guys on the next one. Peace out, guys.